Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially healthcare. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
It's the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everybody. All right, let's bring in the host of Countdown to Freedom at the Federalist. She is also a gal that you see all over Fox News and CNN. She is Brianna Lyman. She joins us once again on Concha at Night. BL, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am outstanding. So I want to talk to you first about, well, I should mention to folks out there, you probably already heard, but USA women in hockey defeated Canada. Nice comeback win to win in overtime for a gold medal. Yay, women's hockey, because you don't hear too many female hockey players bashing the country like we're seeing in some other sports, because hockey players, trust me, they're just built different. My brother worked for the New Jersey Devils for many years. I met these guys. They're not... They're the normies. They're the guys that you really, really root for, and gals, I guess, in this matter, because hockey is a brutal sport. But anyway, Brianna, let's talk about Olympian Eileen Gu, shall we? American-born player relinquishes her U.S. citizenship every few years to go compete for China. Now, wait a minute. You're an American. You live here. You should be obviously representing us in the United States, for the United States, in this case, in Milan, Italy. What is going on with her in terms of a bigger picture, Brianna? What does this say about birthright citizenship and what it means to be an American?
Yeah, and I got to push back, Joe. I wouldn't call her an American. This is someone who was born within the geographical boundaries of America. She has American citizenship, but by no means is she an American, because, like you said, she gives up her citizenship to go and win on behalf of China, because that's where her allegiance lies, and she cites her heritage. People who come to this country, her parents came here as immigrants, I think, in the 1980s. People who come to this country and have children and don't teach their children to love America are not necessarily trying to come and make their lives better because they want to enjoy America and make America better. They're just coming to make their own lives better selfishly, and Eileen Gu is the exact representation of that. And you constantly hear from a lot of rhinos and people on the left saying that, well, immigrants are coming here to make a better life for themselves. And it seems to be like, yeah, they're doing it for themselves, but not for the country. You take Eileen Gu, she's making her life better for herself. She gets these multi-million brand deals because she's working with China. The Chinese Communist Party floods her with money, but she's not trying to help the United States. She's actually actively working against the United States. There was a TikToker recently, I think she's Mexican, and she says that nobody comes here for the culture. We have a better culture. We have better music, everything at home in Mexico. We come here because of the economic opportunities. So many immigrants treat America as merely an economic opportunity zone, and it's insulting. When we talk about birthright citizenship, Eileen Gu is a great example. She was born here, even though her parents were immigrants. Her allegiance doesn't lie here. And when the drafters of the 14th Amendment were creating it, they spoke about this. They said the parents' allegiance has to be to the United States. Why? So you don't end up with a bunch of Eileen Gus.
Exactly right. And even that name, Gu, just there's something about that. I get this Gu all over me. I don't know. I think that she's going to end up being on a panel with you on Abby Phillips' show within 2 months. Like, she sounds like just willing. The... Exactly. God willing. Yes. Yeah. The protagonist that you would need, because I'm sure you'd like to debate her. No question about it. And we've seen other Olympians as well, Brianna, that have spoken out mainly against ICE, against Trump. And this is done on foreign soil. You can make the argument. I'll play contrarian here, or a contrarian in this situation. Okay. They have a First Amendment right. And they should be able to speak about whatever they want to talk about. But I think when you're representing the United States on such a prestigious stage like the Olympics, perhaps that's something that maybe you say for before or after, because obviously you're going to alienate half the country and therefore probably really screw up some endorsements you otherwise would have gotten.
Yeah, and I think this goes back to, what was it, Michael Jordan, Republicans buy sneakers too. The idea is that when people are in positions of being an entertainer or an athlete, you are there to entertain or perform, put on an athletic performance and, again, entertain people. Nobody wants to hear your political opinions because people on both sides of the aisle enjoy the same movies, enjoy the same athletes. And I think of Elvis Presley in the early 70s. He did an interview, and someone asked him for his thoughts on the Vietnam War, and he said, "Oh, ma'am, I'm just a singer. Like, go ask an expert." And yet so many people today have taken on the dual role of being whatever their position is, plus a political commentator. They should leave it not only to the political commentators, but especially when you're representing the greatest country in the world, keep your mouth shut. Even if you hate President Trump or the administration, there's a time and a place to do that, and it's not on the world stage.
Time and a place, precisely right. We're talking to Brianna Lyman of the Federalist. You're seeing these polls more and more now, Brianna. I mean, it's getting ridiculous that we can't do. I saw Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary, on the aforementioned CNN show that we just briefly broached, where he listed off something like 20 top countries in the world from a GDP perspective, industrial perspective. In other words, advanced economies, places that obviously you cannot vote in unless you have a voter ID. Very simple. I mean, you make the argument over and over again. Democrats in the House voted against the SAVE Act, which is basically for voter ID when you go to vote, the most sacred thing we do as Americans. And they had to show ID, obviously, or scan an ID in order to get into the Capitol in order to vote. Or if you go to the DNC, you need an ID. Or when you rent a car, after you land at the DNC, you need an ID. And to fly to the DNC, you need to show ID when you get on a plane. I mean, obviously, you know this, I know this. We see another poll out today, 95% of Republicans favor voter ID. I don't know the 5% that don't. Would love to go bowling with those people sometime. But overall, it's 85% of total Americans, 71% of Democrats, an overwhelming number of Blacks, Latinos. Yet it seems like some Republicans, we all know about Democrats and why they oppose this, because they want illegals to vote as long as possible. And this obviously would make elections much more cleaner, therefore giving them a much lesser chance of winning them on a national or state level. Now, all that said, some Republicans seem kind of wobbly on this as well. What is going on there? There is no political downside to this yet. You know, Mitch McConnell, I don't heard him talking about this very much. And will Speaker Thune blow up the filibuster in order to get this thing passed?
Yeah, I don't think Thune is going to do that, and not because it's politically expedient for him and Republicans to not do it. In fact, if they're going to be under the impression that when Democrats take back control, whether it's this November, whether it's in 2 years, 4 years, that Democrats aren't going to nuke the filibuster to push through their own agenda, then Thune is more naive than I thought. And Chuck Schumer himself said it, maybe it was a year or two ago. He said, look, nothing will be off the table when we get back into power, and that included the filibuster. So Thune needs to understand, when Democrats take back power, they are going to unleash a whirlwind on Americans and Republicans. Second of all, like you mentioned, we're talking about legislation. This isn't even an 80-20 issue. It is a 90-10 issue. Average Americans think it is common sense legislation. And to your point, Democrats require ID to get into everywhere. And why do they do that? Because they want to make sure that the people coming into their DNC events, coming into these meetings, coming into the Capitol building are who they say they are, so that nobody else has their vote diluted or nobody else is impacted by someone who shouldn't be there. And the idea from the left right now that it's such a small problem, so we shouldn't even pay attention to it. 2 points. One, elections can be decided on the margins. Marionette Miller Meeks won her 2020 election by 6 votes. Imagine if 6 fraudulent votes had been cast. That could have impacted the outcome of the election if 6 non-citizens cast a vote, right? The second thing is, we don't actually know for sure how many non-citizens have voted in past elections, because once you cast a ballot, that's it, it's gone. They don't know who cast this vote for Kamala, who cast that for Donald Trump. So there could be far more non-citizens who have voted than we even know of right now that have been caught.
That's the thing. It's not a matter of, these are the people who have been caught. I would imagine it's probably pretty easy to vote in certain states. Anyway, I think I saw the stat, Brianna, we're talking to Brianna Lyman, that every state that Kamala won had this really curious common thread, which was there were all states that didn't require voter ID. So who knows to the extent of which this is happening. And that's the point. Every time a major party wins a Republican wins an election, then it was stolen. So in 2016, Democrats said the Russians stole the election, literally hacked voting machines to change Hillary votes to Trump votes. Then obviously we know the way Trump and his supporters reacted to 2020. Many of those complaints seem to have more and more validity as we look back on it and the way Democrats have acted since. And then 2024, we still hear that maybe that election was stolen and whatever. If you do this, the less ambiguity you have. In other words, the way Florida and Ohio handle their elections, I have results, you have results by 10 o'clock that night. You have the winner. And if other states, we got to wait, Arizona, days, weeks, California, days, weeks, take away the ambiguity. People will trust elections more. And voter ID is one way to do that. Want to talk about one more thing here, Brianna, before we let you go. And thanks for joining us again. I have heard some things said about Trump and the Epstein files. Yeah, Trump's in the Epstein files. Of course he is. Almost everybody who has money or celebrity is in the Epstein files, including several cast members of The View, or I don't know, other presidents like Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton for that matter. Now, all of that said, it's always been death by innuendo with Trump. In other words, if they just say Trump and Epstein enough, people will believe that somehow he did something nefarious, like, I don't know, engage in pedophilia, right? Or engage in carrying out the murders of teenage girls. And you say, Joe, come on, that's hyperbole. I haven't heard that. Well, I give you Ted Lieu, Congressman California, who had this to say today. This is cut number 5. Go.
So why are Republicans so interested in Bill and Hillary Clinton? It's because they're trying to distract from the fact that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files thousands and thousands of times. In those files, there's highly disturbing allegations of Donald Trump raping children.
No, there isn't.
Donald Trump threatening to kill children.
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not a lawyer, Brianna. I don't know if you went to law school. I would sue like now. I mean, that is insane stuff that he raped children and threatened to murder. I mean, I've heard allegations before that have been almost completely all smoke, and totally all smoke, I should say, because as you know, and we've talked about, if Barack Obama and Joe Biden had this sort of material, Hillary Clinton for that matter, in 2016, they would have used it to take out Trump then before he could become president. If they didn't use it then, they didn't have anything on him. All that said, Ted Lieu, how is he not at least censured or at least facing a major lawsuit right now? Because that's pretty effed up stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, why would the Republican-controlled House censure someone of the opposite party for saying something so egregious, right? That'd be crazy for them to do that. We also know that the allegations about Trump in relation to these things that Ted Lieu said, those have been thoroughly debunked by the FBI. They said that the witness was not credible in any capacity, effectively a crazy person, right? Last but not least, the only reason that Ted Lieu and so many Democrats have really jumped on this Epstein bandwagon, because again, remember, 4 years while Joe Biden was in office, they said not a peep about Epstein because it wasn't politically convenient, because we did know that Bill Clinton was involved in some capacity, right? The only reason they're focusing on it now is because they think that that is going to be the election issue that drags them across the finish line, because every other issue they fail on. They fail on immigration. They fail on the economy. You can't dispute that Donald Trump has definitely made the economy better. It's still not where we'd like it to be, but his efforts have worked. So they're hoping that the Epstein thing is going to be enough to sway those independent voters, or make Republicans not want to turn out, because they're going to feel like, oh, well, Republicans didn't do enough when they got elected with Epstein, so we're not going to turn out and vote for them again.
Well, great points. That you can't run on the economy. You certainly can't run on foreign policy. So what's left? Epstein. And it will never, ever go away, because let's face it. I mean, JFK, all these years later, is still hearing about a grassy knoll. And we still hear about Area 51 as far as aliens. And just once a conspiracy theory is out of the toothpaste tube, it's hard to put that toothpaste back in the tube. Anyway, Brianna, I leave you with toothpaste. You have excellent teeth. We've seen that on CNN and Fox News. So great job there. And thanks for joining us. And let's do this again sometime, my friend.
Thanks so much, Joe.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best our nation has to offer, especially when it comes to health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families' health. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.